Alright, going to be doing this on request for people, just little favors. It's just way too hard for me to talk in detail in the chat all the time, so going to do it here. Going to be doing a review for, I'm going to call him Blue, even though he's spelling it wrong on purpose, I guess. For his heroes, which he's been using right now, he's got all 3 stars. He's got Kai and Deb and Momo, which is nice. He's got the 3 fast growth rate heroes. He's got Carrot, Jenny, Chris. He's actually got quite a few heroes in the 3-star slot. Focusing more on PvE right now, of course, because you're going to want to be able to get all those things up. In the later stages, you should be aiming to have Rage. Because he's pretty damn awesome. Just in general, his skills aren't particularly amazing for PvE. But he does have 4 movement, as you can see, and he's pretty let's see. He'd be pretty average, high attack, but for the most part, pretty average in PvE. But nothing super amazing or special. You might want to raise Moo right now because you're not. Doesn't look like. Wait, are you equipping this? Well, depends. You might want to use Moo or Moss just for the heals. Moss can heal himself. Moo can stun lock the boss. So Moo and Jack are both really good for PvE. 2 heroes you should definitely be looking into. You don't actually need to be raising Kai if you're running Carrot. Just a little bit of a weird kind of fact going on there. Everything that Carrot does, Kai just does it one step sort of ahead, but Carrot does it a little bit better in PvE, because generally the bosses aren't going to have, especially in the low stages, they're not going to have tons of defense. If you run Carrot and Chris, for example, they have these great debilitating skills that take away defense by pretty large amounts for multiple turns. Chris's takes over 2,000 also, and it takes it for 3 turns. So with a combination of those, like even the Tower 50 boss last month had 0% defense with the combination of Carrot and Chris. And what that's going to do is it's going to make Kai basically completely useless to you, other than for taking out decent areas and being able to move 5 movement. So he's not a bad hero in PvE. It's just if your team is kind of well-rounded enough to not need the armor ignore, it's fine. Like what Kai would really be good at is taking out the minions, because they're not always going to be, or actually they're very rarely going to be defense debuffed. So it's going to make him not so good at the bosses, but pretty good at clearing enemies in the field. But with his 5 movement, he's usually going to be one of the first heroes that's even able to get to the boss. So it's really up to you. I'd say that you should be thinking of raising him no matter what, either way, because in the end super late game, Kai's armor ignore is just way too strong for PvP. You could probably set him aside. Deb, for sure you should keep, because she's amazing for everything. She doesn't only have 3 movement, but her passive gives her an extra 2 movement when she kills things, and that's really easy to do in PvE. Maybe lead with Carrot or something else before your Deborah. So Deborah can clean up something that gets weakened by the attacks of something else that hits a wide range. It looks like maybe you're using both Carrot and Jenny right now. That's good for your 2 paper heroes. You might want to drop Jenny for just a little bit, or it's really up to you if you want to drop Jenny or Carrot. To be honest, you probably need to either get your Moo up to 3-star. Or you probably need to start using Chris instead of. Well, it looks like she's decently geared for whatever you got. You might want to start using Chris as one of your other papers. You don't want to be too paper heavy. You want to, if you have 5 slots open, you want to go 2, 2, and 1. I suggest the one that you use be Scissors, because all the really good scissor heroes kind of come out a little bit later. Deb's the only one that you're going to get super early that's actually consistently good for a long time. I can see you really don't have anybody worth raising. You should kind of be raising your Jack right now. See if you can get him up to 3-star before you try to progress any further. I suggest you go 2 paper, 2 rock, and 1 scissor. And your 2 rock, you should probably go with Serendi and Jack. your 2 paper, it should probably be Carrot and Moo. And your scissors should be Deb. Now, the reason I'm not saying Jenny, I'm saying Carrot over Jenny, is because Jenny is just more, or more or less like Kai. Jenny doesn't really have anything that's gonna like destroy bosses. She's got amazing range. Like, this is an amazing skill. With a great effect, especially for PvE in mind, where there's always going to be an next turn. But at the same time, you got to keep your mana into account, and you're not going to be able to spam that skill over and over again, especially at these stages in the game. What are these skills costing you right now? 134 for this skill, it's just at level 2, and you've only got 200 mana. So I'm not sure. You can let me know in the comments or in the chat if you've run into me, if you're able to cast 2 in a row yet. But you might want to try getting some MP potentials on this. Carrot, for the way that she's built, she's more. Well, she got higher attack for 1, so just straight up killing. She hits a smaller area, but she'll be able to kill things easier. Her second skill is going to be a lot easier to skill up also than Jenny's third. It's going to cost you less MP, so you'll be able to cast it more often. So it doesn't hit as much, but it is more practical to use leveling up in PvP. Now, what's nice about Carrot is her passive. It's not good, but it's kind of nice to have not so many things to max also at the same time. So you're going to want to focus on maxing this skill first, or her second skill. And then you're going to go to her third skill. Now, her third skill is actually primarily used as a debuff for bosses, and you really only need 1 shot every time. If you're fighting in a boss fight, you're generally going to be using your second skill to clean things up. If you have little things you can pick off just to save mana, use your first skill to pick them off. Don't be using your third skill unless you absolutely feel you need to do that to get the kill. But killing isn't always the most impactful decision. You have to be thinking about your mana consumption. So you'll be able to clean things up with the second skill, lower their attack, which is nice. So it kind of softens up their team and also strengthens your team at the same time. Carrot skills are very, very, very useful in PvE. She's also got 4 movement, so she's going to be more versatile around the map, being able to move farther. Like, Jenny might be able to reach 1 range farther, but Carrot can move 1 space more. So with just with that in mind, on turn 1 they can reach the same distance. Because it's very unlikely that you're actually going to have Jenny go in and one-shot all these things all the time, because there's just always going to be this perfect pyramid of enemies all the time. Like, it's just not super practical, especially with her 3 movement. She can't really find those sweet positionings as easy as Carrot's going to be able to maximize her positionings. What you're going to find is there's going to be really sweet opportunities with Jenny, but she's going to miss more opportunities than she gets. Carrot is slightly stronger though, which is nice, and her skills are designed very well for PvE, where she starts here, she fires one of those at the boss, and she cleans things up with this. She's got a good cycle with her skills, and they're all invaluable at different stages of each individual map, the way that you should be doing them. Momo is a fast growth, Kai is a fast growth. You might want to raise those 2 instead of Serendi and Jack if you're really interested in doing things the super fast way, the fastest way possible. But it's just not the most efficient way possible. Because these Momo and Kai are fast growth rate like Deb, they're going to be the ones that take the least amount of cuckoos to raise up in level, so you can rank up easier. Now, once you have everything ranked up, it's going to be a lot easier, the higher the rank of whatever characters they are, to farm better stages in your cuckoo dungeons. If you can farm better stages, generally you can level your newer heroes up even faster and more efficiently. So keep that in mind. That being said, Serendi and Jack are definitely the go-to rock heroes that you have right now, and maybe drop Jack in the later stages when you're thinking more of PvP. If you want to run Gunner Rage, because Gunner Rage is definitely the best character you have right now. If you get Chenny, I think Chenny would be better for slot 1, because a lot of people invest very heavily in Jack for his PvE uses, and that will just make him a very strong hero in PvP generally compared to most of the other options you're going to have on your team. Jack's not the most amazing PvP hero, but if somebody's invested very heavily into a character, generally it will outperform or outshine other characters. So he's okay, but he's really amazing for PvE. But if you get Chenny in the future, you probably would want to run Chenny instead of Rage, so you're not too rock heavy. But Serendi, definitely you're going to want to use her. What's nice about Serendi is when you get to the really hard bosses, a lot of people find the really hard bosses are the ones that have the most utility and the most debuff effects. A lot of people mention Cleo as probably the hardest boss in the game for the time. When you get to her, your very first time you go fight this boss has all this confusion and charm. It's a really big pain in the ass. The monsters are strong. Having a character like Serendi in your team is going to make it nice and easy for you. Because you're going to be able to cure those debuffs. Serendi would be running ideally in one of the earlier slots, probably slot 1 or slot 2. What would be nice about Serendi going early is because she has a passive that gives her extra movement. You should have it now that you're rank 3. Perfect. She's got this extra 2 movement. Now, the extra attack is nice once this skill's maxed, but for the most part, you should be investing your skills in her charm. You probably don't want to use her quite yet because you still have all her skills at level 1, but even at level 1, she's still pretty good. It's generally better for her to go first because then if she goes and she hits things down with charm, then you know that you can focus your real forward attacks or your optimal places to attack in other places because these charmed enemies are going to go and attack themselves, for example. And what's nice about that is if you can cover more areas, then it's less chances of Serendi being attacked and losing her movement debuff. Now, the reason why I'm saying you should probably have Mu also is because Serendi has, well, first off, having a healer is always good. It's just always good. Right now, your tank is Chris, which you really don't have any way to sustain her if you are using Chris to tank a boss and it's working and the boss is pummeling down Chris. Chris will probably just die because there's no way to bring her, keep her alive or sustain her. Mu's going to get you heals, but then you're going to be 2 paper heavy if you're using Chris, Carrot, and Mu. So, if I had to recommend a team for you right now, I'd probably say slot 1, Serendi, slot 2, Carrot, slot 3, Deborah, slot 4, Mu, and your last slot I would probably put in Jack. And there's really good reasons for all those things. The only thing that's a little bit more variable is you could probably throw Mu and Carrot and have them switch positions. Mu's 100% stun. It's going to be invaluable to you when fighting bosses. You probably actually can even drop Chris. Sorry, not Chris. You could probably even drop Jack altogether if you run Mu. Because Mu's going to be able to stun lock bosses, so you don't need this sustain thing. The only bosses that don't have, that have stun immune are in the Tower of Dawn, so you don't actually have to really raise Jack unless you feel that you absolutely need him for the tower. Let's see, where are we going here? What did I say? Alright, so Carrot, Deb, Serendi, Mu, and Jack. Yeah, I think that would still be your optimal team, though. What's going to be nice about that team is, I think Carrot, if you raise her defense debuff enough, you'll be able to keep bosses generally in the low to 0 defense range. Excuse me. Which is going to make all your heroes hit bosses like Kai, the same way that Kai would hit them, basically, which is right through their defense. You've got a really good amount of area damage. Mu's area damage can also heal on top of that. And then you have a self-sustaining tank. So you could have heals going on over there and Jack draining over here, things like that. It's I think that would probably be your most balanced team. But until you have the skills and the heroes leveled up well enough to use them like that, You should probably stick with your faster growth rate heroes, so they can benefit the most. Just looking, it looks like you've. Just want to see what you've invested the most in. Carrot's a really, really, really good choice. I don't know why people think she's so one-trick pony. Carrot's a very, very versatile hero. Maybe not go so heavy on Chris. I know that she is your Pikachu, but you could probably do better. Also, I see that you're equipping a lot of maces. You're probably going to want to keep that going just for now, but in the near future, you're going to want to be transitioning to swords and bows because the stats that you get is just generally better. Anyway, I'm going to be ending this here, and I'll post it for you.